among those today who has questioned the propriety and the constitutionality of the government refusing to have question hour. The government says this is a COVID pandemic, it's only a 4-hour session every day, they cannot accommodate question hour. Your views, is the government, according to you, gagging the opposition or simply following COVID precautions?
Well, Rajdeep, I think there is a need to put things in context and in a perspective. There is absolutely no denying the fact that the situation is extraordinary, and any attempt to minimize its implications or its magnitude would be completely imbecile. I think what the Honorable Speaker and the Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha have done is extremely commendable, because to get 800 people to convene, and that too for 18 long days, is a Herculean logistical effort. Having said that, the reason why I objected to the abolition of the question hour, which incidentally the Speaker does have the authority under Rule 32 of the Rules and Procedures of Regulating Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha. But when you read it in juxtaposition with the Colin Shakhdar, especially page 473, Colin Shakhdar says that this is a power which is used only in an extraordinary situation. You cannot deny the fact that this is an extraordinary situation, but then question hour only gets suspended if there is unanimity. So the key word in Colin Shakhdar on page 473 is unanimity in the House with regard to suspending the question hour. And I think that is something which the government either didn't strive to create, and when the opposition asked for a division on that particular issue, unfortunately the division wasn't granted. My submission is that it is actually just a question of logistics. The thing is that government's logic is that when you answer start questions in Parliament, ministers are assisted by their secretaries and by their other staff. And it would be difficult to allow so many people into Parliament, given the extraordinary situation. It's a valid concern. However, I've been a minister in the government of India also, and I've answered starred questions without any reference to any of my officers sitting in the gallery. Suppose if there was a question which a minister found it inconvenient to answer, he could have very well said that, look, this is a question which requires a more detailed answer. I will come back to you with a written response because I'll have to consult my ministry. So I guess, if the logistics of it would have been better managed, given the fact that we have a 4-hour session, could have been extended by half an hour, and starred questions could have been accommodated, because let's not forget the fact that the opposition or the right of individual members actually gets reflected in the question hour, in the 0 hour, and the private members' business. The rest of it is government business, and in this particular instance, both private members' business as well as question hour stand suspended.
I allowed Manish Tewari to have his opening remarks. GVL Narasimha Rao, I want you to respond to that, because at the end of the day, we are supposed to be a parliamentary democracy. And the parliamentary democracy has to have equal space for the opposition and the government. The sense one is getting is the opposition space is constricted, because the government beyond the point does not want inconvenient questions, particularly on the economy and COVID. These are the two subjects which are no-go for this government at the moment in this session. How do you respond to that? You do not want full-fledged debates.
No, Rajdeep, it's a controversy where none exists. It's nothing but a tool of propaganda. The entire opposition and even the media which raises such questions is actually indulging in propaganda. I accuse even the media when they don't really fairly tell the people what the reality is. Punjab Assembly, I think a state which Manish Tewari ji represents as a member of Lok Sabha, met for one day on August 28th, one-day session. And West Bengal was to meet for 2 days. They met for one day. Nowhere in the country any assembly is functioning. The party believes in parliamentary democracy. That's why we have a 18-day-long parliament session. And a non-stop session at that, without a break, without a Saturday, Sunday. because we have to, and it's not just questions. There are 23 bills that have been that are pending, that have been introduced, that will be taken up for debate in Parliament, and out of which 11 are ordinances. There will be a discussion on all the topics that you mentioned. There is an epidemic diseases ordinance, which will be epidemic diseases amendment bill, which is coming up, which will have 2 to 3 years of time allotted for this. There is a supplementary demands for grants, which will be taken up for at least 2 to 3 hours.
Right.
Every bill in many state assemblies, bills are being rushed through in a single day. We have commitment for parliamentary democracy, and we are even answering all the questions. Written answers are being supplied.
I'm going to come to those.
You have discussed some of those.